Hi, I'm Doug Patt, the How-To Architect. This is a video response for some students in Puerto Rico doing a class project. I am a U.S. citizen from the northeast part of the United States. I have a Bachelor of Science and a Bachelor of Architecture from Penn State University. I have a master's degree in architecture from the University of Pennsylvania. My background: I did not want to go to college. I wanted to be an actor or perhaps a truck driver. That did not go over too well, so I applied to Penn State in the architecture program and was miraculously accepted. I've been working in the field for about the last 16 years. I started working summers in between semesters when I was at Penn State. After I graduated, I worked in Europe for about a year and a half. I went back to graduate school at Penn, and after graduate school worked up and down the East Coast at a number of architectural firms. About 5 years ago, I started a product development company, essentially an idea business. About a year ago, I started this YouTube channel called How-To Architect. I've taught architecture at the Penn State University. I am a registered architect. One of your questions was about becoming an architect in the United States. In most states, you need a 3 to 4 year minimum internship. When I took the exam, it was 9 parts. Today, I think it's about 7. Once you pass, you're a registered architect. I get a lot of questions about what it takes to be a good architect. I think it takes essentially 4 things. You should be able to draw well. You should be decent at math, although I don't think it's required as much in the profession as it is to get through school. You should be proficient at the language you're going to practice in, both written and spoken. And I think you got to be good at conceptual thinking, that is, being creative and being able to come up with ideas. So the profession looks very different for me than it did when I was in college. That is, once you get out, you realize there's a lot less design work and there's a lot more paperwork. There are many more challenges with people like clients and contractors, and you've got to be more detail-oriented, specifically with documents like specifications and contracts. In terms of salary, intern architects, from what I understand, make in between $35,000 and $55,000 a year, and it essentially goes up from there. An architect like myself with 15 years experience can make $90,000 to $130,000 a year and more. And you're going to make even more money if you're a partner or an owner in a business. I actually know a couple people who've made millions, but that is very rare. Bottom line, salaries have not historically been very high for architects, but I do know that they're starting to level out with other like professions, say engineers. My advice for people who choose to become an architect is to work really hard. I say that because there are a lot of smart people out there, and the only way to set yourself apart is to work hard. When you work hard, you get more responsibility. And when you get more responsibility, you're going to be managing jobs. And when you're managing jobs, you're making more money. So, at the end of the day, the profession of architecture is really wonderful to me, despite the challenges, let's say the low pay or the long hours. The education makes the life of an architect much more fulfilling. I've always said, you've got to know a lot about a lot to be an architect, and that makes for a somewhat fulfilling life. So, you asked me what my finest achievement was as an architect, and I'd have to say that although I really enjoy high-end residential work and all the projects that I've been involved with over the years, a couple of years ago, I sold one of my companies as a product developer, and that has to be, hands down, the finest achievement of my life to date. So, thank you very much for your questions, and I look forward to hearing about how things go.